All right. I wanted to try and see if I can figure out how to share YouTube. And while I'm listening to this, I'm going to be crocheting. So I was on TikTok earlier today, and I saw a TikTok of hers. How many views? 38K. Alright, not as much as I thought. I thought it was going to like probably go viral because there was a lot of views on it on TikTok. But I wonder what happened. It seems as though she had a partner. This is where I'm thinking. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think she had a partner for her podcast. It was her channel. Then they may have had some kind of falling out. This is my impression of the video that I saw that she posted. It didn't leave much information. And then that partner stole her channel or something like that. Anyway, so I want to see what this drama is.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Too Much. I have waited 14 weeks to record and post this episode. It's something that most of you, if not all of you, have been questioning, wondering about, reaching out to me about, and I'm finally ready to talk about it. It's been 2 months since I have been erased from the existence of my own podcast. 2 months since the Unbothered podcast has been operating on my accounts without my consent and without compensating me for my half of the business as a 50-50 partner. I am at a loss and I am done keeping quiet. There is only one person whose peace my silence is keeping, and it is not mine. Everything I'm about to say is irrefutable, comes bearing receipts, and is completely factual. This is the account of what actually happened to my podcast, Unhinged. For the purpose of keeping this episode just succinct, clear, and organized, I'm going to have my laptop with me because I have written out this entire episode, and it is 21 pages long. I waited 14 episodes to do this because I wanted the time to be right. I was actually advised by someone when I was ideating and starting the podcast to launch with this, to make this episode 1. But against a lot of people's opinions, I said no. I wanted to give Too Much its own space. I didn't want it to come from a place of negativity, and I didn't want it to be capitalizing on the drama. So I launched, I established it, and I was waiting until I was thinking clearly, until I was emotionally ready, and until the time was right. And that time is now. And don't get me wrong, even though I am feeling emotionally ready, my heart's racing right now. I'm nervous as hell, but I know this is right and I know it needs to be done. So let's go down the rabbit hole, shall we? As a disclaimer, pretty much this entire thing is going to be technical with dates.
Okay, she says she's going to give us the dates. I just wanted to see, how big was this other podcast? Oh, they changed the name of the channel, I think, to Unbothered. Okay, it started a month ago. Maybe it's popular on Spotify? Okay. I mean, 1,000 followers is a lot, but like, maybe I'm on the wrong channel. Let's try this again.
Receipts, quotes. My goal is to keep the emotion out of this. And if I do share any of my opinions, I will make sure you know it. All you need to know is what has taken place between January 3rd, 2025 and today. But if you are new here and you're like, what the fuck is this girl talking about? Yet you are intrigued, I am going to give you a very brief history of Unhinged and what kind of went down. In May of 2023,
Well, that's good, because like I have no idea who these people are. But geez, I can get like sucked right into TikTok drama. This seems to be YouTube. Oh, you know what? I didn't look at the other person's TikTok, so. Okay.
I started Unhinged with this girl that I hardly knew. The partnership was 50-50 from the start. And although there was no official contract in place, there are checklists on checklists that kept track of our equal split of work for the last year and a half. Thousands of texts and emails citing these checks and balances, a system that we put in place to ensure this equal split. And we even assigned each other all of the
I'm gonna see if I can get her to talk faster.
daily tasks that needed to be done. And this included graphic design, posting, caption writing, episode descriptions, communication with external brands, every single Instagram post, every single Instagram story. If you saw it, we agreed on it. We even split up who created each account. For example, I created the Instagram, the Spotify, and the Gmail accounts. My co-host created the TikTok, and I'm sure among other accounts. But to me, that was just splitting the workload, something I would later come to regret. It has been like that since day one. We treated it as a business. Sure, there were times where maybe I did a little more or she did a little more, but that is the dynamic of a partnership. We supported each other. So we launched our first episode, I believe, on June 28th, 2023, and it quickly exploded after that. Within 3 months, we were going viral, and after 16 months, we had hit over 600,000 followers across all platforms. Now, truthfully, the demise of the relationship began about 3 months after the launch. Tensions became a little bit high when my New York City-based partner, who I expected to run a business with out of New York City, moved to Los Angeles, making it a bi-coastal podcast. Now, naturally, this threw a wrench into things, into the processes, into the relationship, on both sides. But that's really...
Two of my favorite podcasts, the people are filming and they're not in the same room. The Do We Know Them podcast, and they do it just fine. Lily's in LA, and Jesse's in Atlanta somewhere. Or Georgia. What's the state? Georgia, I think. And then the Here for the Clout podcast. Chelsea is in Florida, and Sherilyn is somewhere in Canada. So, I don't know. Yeah, it sucks, but like, I work remotely as well. Zoom really like amped things up during the pandemic, or got amped up during the pandemic. So anyway, I haven't finished listening to what she has to say, so I should do that.
really where it began. That is all I'm going to say about the relationship between us prior to January 1st, 2025, because it doesn't matter. That will turn into she said, she said. And ultimately, the one thing that matters is that I was unhappy. And I'm not saying that I was the only one that was unhappy, but I am not responsible for how someone else chooses to make themselves happy. When I am unhappy, I make a change. Because if you are not changing it, you are choosing it. So after giving it my all for over a year, sort of the peak, or what I thought was the peak of my unhappiness, started in July of 2024. I started to seriously consider whether or not I was going to stay in this or whether or not this was going to last. These were just thoughts. It took me 6 months to deliberate if I truly wanted to walk away. 6 months to try.
But why? Sometimes I don't understand what people are trying to say. She seems younger than me, so maybe, I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand. Okay, no, just watch the video. Just watch the video.
Try and make it work one last time. And 6 months to muster up the courage to actually walk away. Because it was hard. I put everything into Unhinged. And I did not want to walk away. But I knew I had to. For my mental health, for myself, and for my future. We even had one last coming to Jesus moment in September where we both really tried to make it work. But ultimately, there was no change. It didn't feel salvageable. And I knew what I had to do. And that was end the podcast. Now, this portion of the episode is going to be very technical. Because it has to be. This has been an extremely nuanced situation, and without knowing all of the details, no one can make an informed opinion on the matter. And up until now, you have only had one side of things. So, on December 30th, like I said, my patience was running thin with where things stood for our relationship. And again, I am sure that is on both sides, but I cannot control what someone else does. This is just the actions that I chose to take based on how I was feeling. I was given an ultimatum by my co-host that was unreasonable and was lacking respect for myself and my time, in my opinion. And that was the turning point. I was pushed too far, and the straw finally broke the camel's back. On December 31st, I sent my co-host a text letting her know that I was done.
I want to read these texts because often people will just post a text on screen and it doesn't matter. Okay, so it looks like her partner, Chloe. I've asked since last week to find a time that works. I shouldn't even be the one initiating the convo. If you can't find the time tomorrow that works, that's fine, but don't expect to film next week. Then she responds, over the past month, I have consistently asked you to set a date for filming and can provide screenshots if needed to refresh your memory. I will not engage with threats, okay, ultimatums, or toxic behavior. I'm not available after 1 p.m. PST. That's fair, because if she's in New York, that's after working hours. And that isn't changing. And also did not upload the episode today, which is unacceptable and needs to be addressed with our audience. As I mentioned in September, that was the last time I was writing or willing to work through our issues. Since then, the dynamic has not improved, and your decision not to upload the latest episode further demonstrates that. At this point, I think we need to discuss a dissolution strategy. Does that mean she wants to dissolve it? I assume so. I've never heard that word. I feel like I've heard the word dissolution. Dissolution. Okay. But I didn't think that's what that meant. Okay. So strategy to fairly end this as it's not sustainable and it's clear there's no repairing it. Okay. They obviously have some beef. I want to look at the Instagram page. Unbothered. Oh! The Unbothered podcast, Chloe Madison, which is this Chloe that we're talking to in that text message, and Alexa Losi. I remember her from OG YouTube, 2014 YouTube. Interesting. She's she was big back then. Yeah, Alexa has 600,000 followers on Instagram and Chloe has 16. She's really pretty. She looks like Sabrina Carpenter. Actually. Okay. Let's see what else. Let's see what this screenshot even means.
And then I wanted to begin the dissolution process. There was some back and forth text exchange, but for the purpose of the account of what went down, all you need to know is that I stated my discontent, she stated hers, but I made up my mind and I said I was done. This was New Year's Eve, so I went offline and I went out and I celebrated what I knew was going to be an amazing year to come. On January 2nd, I received a text asking if I would be, and I quote, quitting the podcast. And if I did,
I have to read these because I don't know. Okay. I feel like I can be so manipulated with these videos just by like listening to one side of the story. I don't know the Unhinged podcast. I've never heard of them until I saw her TikTok. Okay, so Chloe says, "Hi Emma." Okay, Emma's the name of this girl that we're listening to. "I need you to let me know about the above or if you are quitting the podcast. If there's no response, I'll have to assume the latter." Okay, so that's on January 2nd. And she said that was from 2 days before. Like, is there more to this screenshot? It feels like it. I don't. Screenshots like this makes me feel like things are strategically like cut out. Because I can see down here that there's another text message, Monday, January 13th. Or maybe she's coming to that. Okay. Chloe, "I am not quitting the podcast, as the podcast will not exist if it's not the two of us. That needs to be clear. It's been a holiday, and I will get back to you when I'm ready." Okay, fair, because, like, we need to have some boundaries with work. And I wouldn't want to answer during the holiday either. But a podcast is so... It feels so disingenuous to, like... I wonder what their dynamic was like. If they didn't even know each other, clearly didn't even like each other. Like, what were they talking about? Okay. As mentioned above, your ultimatums will not be tolerated. What ultimatums, though? What's the ultimatum? Did I miss it? I might have missed it, but... Okay. "And as it's 8 p.m., this conversation is over. Please expect a detailed email from me in the coming days." Okay. I need to, like, pick my words wisely. She seems young. I'm trying to, like, think of what to say to, like, because I don't know this person. But this seems like this was her business and Chloe's business too. So Chloe, like, needs to know this information. That's probably her source of income as well, right? And she says she's been thinking about this for 6 months, so she probably, like, built up some kind of animosity towards her. I know some people who get really annoyed when people do certain things but never tell the other person that, like, they're annoyed with what they're doing, and then they just build and build and build until they're like, they snap. So could that have happened? Maybe. I don't have enough information yet.
did not respond to that, it would be assumed that I was. So I responded back stating it needs to be very clear that without the two of us, Unhinged would not exist, which is reasonable given it was a 50-50 partnership, and I could acknowledge that. I can acknowledge that without the two of us together, it can't exist. It can't go on. The platforms cannot go on. And at that point, I told her to expect a detailed email from me in the coming days. So on January 3rd, I sent my first formal notice of my exit.
Louise. I'm way too blind to read that. And she's not going to read it to us, is she? Doesn't make a difference. Drat. I wish I wasn't so blind.
Exit from Unhinged. I provided my reasons. I provided a proposal.
I had myself muted. Oops. I was saying this email is so small and I can't read that. And I don't think she's going to read us the entire thing, because receipts are tricky like that. Sometimes they just post receipts. What does this receipt say? I sound like a hater. I don't know this person. I'm not a hater. I just like, if you're going to post online this big thing and get lots of attention, show us the actual receipts, girl.
Of what I think the dissolution should look like. And I even gave one last ditch effort of what I thought we could change to maybe salvage it. But I explained, I have a gut feeling in my heart that this just cannot go on and we need to do what's in both of our best interests and cut our losses. This entire email and every email that I'm going to reference from here on out is in my Instagram profile highlights. On Life of Emma page, if you go to it, I have posted every single email in this email.
Okay. The life of, what did she say? Life of Emma page. Okay. Receipts. Oh, this girl is like type A, I would say. But like, she wasn't playing. Okay. On February 4th, oh, hang on. Okay, I am going to be able to read this. Okay, that's good. Let's see. On February 4th, she posted to her Instagram story, "This is Emma. I'm devastated and disgusted at what I just woke up to. The information shared about me by Chloe Madison is false and defamatory. She has stolen my podcast that I'm 50% owner of and now changed it to be her own without us coming to a mutual agreement." Okay, that's sketchy as hell. The screenshot she shared was cropped, but I have... Girl. Okay. But I have nothing to hide. Here's every email correspondence between her and I since January 3rd. She did not respond to her business partner until January 27th. What do you mean, though? She sent you a message on January 2nd. She did not respond to her business partner. You told her she's not your business partner anymore, though. Like, you made that kind of clear in the messages that you showed anyway. Sorry, I'm jumping to conclusions. Okay. She did not respond to her business partner until January 27th. I've been locked out of the account since January 17th and not given an opportunity to regain access, like I offered her, as you'll see in my email that she cropped. What would you do if your business was being illegally taken from you? Okay. I'm going to need to screenshot this and make it bigger for my blind ass. Okay, so the email I wasn't able to read earlier, I can read now. Chloe, I have written and rewritten this email multiple times, but truthfully, I'm exhausted being the broken record I have been for the past year and a half. So here are the facts. Okay. Despite the 50 plus times I have asked you to respect my time and the fact that I am on the East Coast, verbally and via email and text, you completely ignore and dismiss my requests. Each of these have been documented in case you'd like to review. I'm like triggered from like corporate world. Okay. This sounds like a passive aggressive coworker. She's not so passive now, but like, please see previous email for that answer, you dumbass. Or anyway, I feel I feel the way you treat me in person, via text, and on the podcast itself is rude, belittling, and disrespectful. This is something I've not only been feeling, but has also been brought to my attention by strangers, followers, and friends providing feedback about our dynamic, explaining you undermine me, but put me down and judge my stories, opinions, and overall way of living. This is not something I will be associated with nor tolerate. The precedent we have set in regards to the pressure to post graphics, TikToks, and get things done is toxic, unhealthy, and not ill-suited for our professional differences and personal lives. Am I stupid? What does that mean? The precedent we have set in regards to the pressure to post graphics, TikToks, and get things done is toxic. So maybe like they were doing like really tight deadlines or something. Toxic, unhealthy, and not ill-suited for our professional differences and personal lives. I don't know what this even means. All right. I think this means maybe they have different schedules. I'm assuming they both have other jobs. Maybe like family. Okay. Traveling out to LA for 4 days at a time and having to put my life on hold is disruptive and no longer suitable for my goals. Fair. That is like you're living half the time in a different city. But like you can do a podcast without being in person. I'm telling you. Watch the Do We Know Them podcast. Traveling to LA has become too expensive, especially considering I've had to find my own accommodations ranging from hotels to friends' couches, an hour away from studio, to hotels resulting in Ubers costing me over $400. Yeah, that's expensive as hell. And like I get it, you're grinding, but there's better ways. There's better ways to do this stuff, you know? Like before you get this angry. We do not have a large enough steady flow of income at the moment to justify any of the above. Okay, and that is fair. Let me be clear that I do not want to end this podcast, but it's something in my bones I feel we need to do. I have been grappling with ending the podcast since July. Our conversation in September gave me hope, but since then, that faded away yet again. I want to be a creator, podcaster, host, influencer, etc., more than anything in the world, but I no longer see the longevity of Unhinged anymore, solely due to our relationship. At age 31, I'm not going to waste my time being part of something that I've lost faith and trust in. Something that is toxic and is causing more stress than joy and success. Okay. She's obviously stressed out. But, like, she said that, like, her co-host is rude to her. Like, I don't know, man. Kim, there are people who are dying. Okay, where was I? Okay, something that is so toxic and is causing more stress than joy and success. Something where I'm fighting with my business partner at all. It's just not worth it. We have now had at least 3 conversations where we try to fix things, and there has been no improvement. A merry-go-round business partnership is no way to function or get ahead in life. These conversations should only have to happen once, if that. I know who I am at this point in my life. I know what I want and where I want to be, and this, in this current state, is not it. Okay. That's fair. Wanting to end like a podcast, wanting to leave your job at all if you're unhappy, like do it. But like, what did this other girl do? Like, okay, I have to like chill because we don't know this. We don't know yet. There's still a lot left. Okay. as I've tried to come up with what I would say to you in this email, whether I would provide what it would take to continue this partnership or not, I really don't know. If it's in either of our best, I really don't know if it's in either of our best interest to continue this, but I would be remiss to not share my thoughts, aside from the things I've said countless times before in regards to the accountability, respect, and regard for my time. Ultimately, what I realized that we have to try to do this as friends. We have tried to do this as business partners with strict processes in place, but none of that is working. The only thing I can think that may salvage anything is if we drop all processes aside from episode launch protocol and just do the best and most we can individually without getting on each other's cases. Honestly, if I got this email from a friend, I'd lose my mind. What the hell? Like, she's mad. She moved to LA. And it's probably very difficult to, like, coordinate schedules when there's that big of a time difference. But, like, I don't know, man. I'm having a hard time feeling bad for you. I don't feel bad for the other girl either, but, like, this is just really condescending, in my opinion. Okay. The only thing I can think of salvaged anything is if we drop the processes aside from episode launch protocol and just do the best and most we can individually without getting on each other's case. Stripping away the pressure and the stress, maybe just by recalibrating until we can get to a place where this brings us joy again. This would mean, oh my God, posting and creating filler graphics when we can, not being strict about taking turns, but just getting them together as we can when we can. Deadlines in any business is, like, necessary. Sorry to break it to you. It is not the end of the world if a filler post does not go up and we cannot act like it is. If a graphic can't go up, make it another reel and we do 3 reels between launch day. It doesn't need to be high stress as it is. Okay, I was a manager of a lot of people before, and this is just like, feels like blah, 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 blah. I don't want to have timelines or due dates. I don't want to be pushed that's what I'm getting from this. I don't want to be pushed if I can't make a deadline. There has to be, like, some kind of pressure. I agree that you shouldn't be, like, fully stressed out all the time while you're at work, but, like, it's normal, no? To have a little bit of pressure. Posting TikToks when we can. That's the next bullet point. Reaching out to brands when we can or on a once a month basis, and it being done on a call together. Listen. Linda, listen. These points do not align with your goals. You said earlier in the email that you want nothing more than to be a podcaster, TikToker, influencer. How do you expect to do that? Oh, okay. I saw one more TikTok of somebody saying, like, you have to watch this video. And I was like, oh my God, this girl was probably done so dirty. There's 40 minutes left still, so, oh my God, I'm such a slow reader. I just want to read all the receipts, though, because she's talking about it like it's solving a big discussion, but I don't know, man. Responding to emails when we can. Okay. You sound like you have anxiety, maybe? Because I understand this. when you get like so many emails. But as a program manager with clients who were drug companies, you can get like 200 emails in a day, and you just have to learn how to like sift and prioritize. How many emails are you getting? And like, maybe a lot. I don't know. I don't know what the life of an influencer is. But if you're getting a lot of emails, it probably means you're being successful, which is your goal. Like you said in this email. Okay. Responding to emails when we can. If there are important ones, friendly nudges with respect to the other person's time is fine. But helping one another by texting and screenshotting for a quick glance is a kind thing to do as we are both busy. Recording more episodes during visits so that we can space out travel and spend better. That's fair. Being in LA every single week is a lot. Helping each other more when one person is busy, i.e. sending more photo options. Okay. It's not fair to put words in someone's mouth. But this makes me think that maybe this girl, Emma, she may have like a busier life than Chloe. Chloe may be like she's in LA, so maybe she's like doing more influencer things, and she may have like a full-time job. Which would make sense for her strict like 1 p.m. deadline. But also, I don't know, if she doesn't have another job, then not texting outside of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Be more specific, because you're in different time zones. 6 p.m. her time. 9 a.m. her time. She's in New York, I think. So 9 a.m. her time is 5 a.m. the other girl's time. Coral, come on. Maybe it's like from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. or something. Or no, 11 a.m. Like, how do time zones work? Not texting outside from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's her time, because she said earlier she wasn't available after 1 p.m. Oh, so is there a 5-hour difference between New York and LA? I don't know, I'm in Canada. But if it's a 5-hour difference, that's 4 a.m. that other girl's time. 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. You're asking her to have like a really crazy schedule to fit around your boundaries. I understand boundaries are important, but like, come on. Booking studio times and flights farther in advance. That seems like a fair thing, but also, why is that on her? Like, you're the one traveling. So could you book that yourself? Is she your assistant? I don't know. I offer all of these to not say we should slack, but that we need to be in charge of our own output. The only thing that truly matters, if it happens on time, are the episode launches. Outside of that, there should be no more conflict because a graphic didn't get posted or created, etc. Like I said, I really don't think this is salvageable at this point. You're probably right. But Unhinged is my baby too, and I don't want to throw away a 1.5 years of work. I'm willing to do one more round of episodes to see if we can make this work as a trial, regardless of what we decide. I would like to get a dissolution plan in place, whether it will be executed now, in the future, or ever, but we both need to be clear on what happens if one person walks away. If you walked away, it doesn't mean the other person just has to throw their business in the garbage, right? Am I crazy? If two people own a business and one person is like, fuck this, I don't want to do this business anymore, does that mean the other person has to just be like, okay, I don't have the business anymore either? That seems crazy. Am I misinterpreting this? Maybe, but that's wild. Crazy email to send, Emma. Okay, so that's the end of that email. Let's listen to what else she has to say.
Thread. None of it is doctored. I did black out my email so you guys wouldn't have my personal email, but every single full email is in there. So if you would like to follow along with the story, feel free. Now here's where it gets interesting. My business partner, who I spoke to every single day for 18 months, ghosted me for 25 days. I sent the first email on January 3rd, 2025, and over that week...
Stop it, stop it, stop it. She didn't ghost you. You told her twice that you didn't want to do it anymore. Like, life doesn't stop because you decide to say stop. Oh, they think they put together these like well thought out, and people fall for it. It's crazy, ma'am. This is crazy.
Weekend, TikToks continued to go up on our accounts. My co-host was posting from her personal account in our shared broadcast channel, self-promoting, telling people to follow her personal account, which is never something we've ever done. And this was all really, really frustrating for me to see, but I did send the email on a Friday. So I was like, she can have a couple days to get back to me, but it was annoying, I'm not gonna lie. On January 7th, now 4 days after the initial email was sent, a brand that we had signed a deal with reached out to us asking a question via text. I had still not received a response from my co-host. And without consulting me, which was a standard operating procedure, she responded to the brand, alluding to our disarray and claiming that we would...
Okay, so this says, hi, Emma. Okay, from Chloe, January 7th. Maybe this wasn't in text message. Okay. Hi, Emma. Can we get back to you? Hi, Emma can get back to you regarding the draft and posting date for the final video. We can definitely get the vid up on IG this week. We've really loved working on this campaign and have been excited about the idea of teaming up again on a new one. We need to take a pause on partnerships at the moment as we work out some internal structuring. We'll be in touch when that changes. Fair. Okay. This doesn't make Chloe look bad to me. I don't know, man. I really sound like a Chloe stan. I've never heard of this woman before in my life.
Be getting back to them, which in my mind, in my opinion, is completely unprofessional. So on January 8th, I sent my second email. I followed up with my co-host explaining that discussing the future of our podcast...
Okay, so on January 8th, they are like messaging each other in different ways, and it is hard to keep track of. But okay, so this email. So the other email was really written like on a letterhead and everything. Okay. Chloe. Maybe I'm a boomer. Okay. Chloe, it has been 5 days since I sent this email. Why do I keep getting spam? This user was flagged as a possible ban evader by the system. Okay, suspicious user in the active monitoring state are able to publicly post. I don't care. I just want to ban you. Okay. Random person banned. Let's close this and I'm learning.
Podcast was the top priority, and that should be handled before responding to brands, and especially before writing in our broadcast channel, self-promoting. Mind, in my opinion, is completely unprofessional. So on January 8th, I sent my second email. I followed up.
I think I forgot to read the email. I got triggered by it just starting with Chloe. Chloe, it has been 5 days since I sent this email. I would appreciate a response before we engage with brands. Is it possible that she didn't read the email? Because you aren't too pressed about reading the emails on time either. That was written in your last email. Okay. Why do I get a feeling like the other girl was like being like, Emma, it's your turn to do this. Can you do this? Or can you read this email? Can you like answer this message? And now this girl is like, we shouldn't be stressed and putting timelines on shit. But Chloe not answering is the problem. Girly girl. My brain might be broken. That's possible. Okay. I would appreciate a response before we engage with brands, alluding to disarray in our internal affairs. I don't think she did that. She alluded to like maybe something. But like businesses restructure, redo SOPs. Like that's normal. Like why? Anyway. And if you're just not going to answer the brands, like you're probably going to lose that deal, right? Like you can't just not answer them like you want to do. It feels like this Chloe girl like just took this into her own hands. Sorry, Emma. I also find the increase in engagement with our audience from your personal account in the broadcast channel and the recent personal tags you've added to your reels without responding to me to be extremely unprofessional and clearly self-promoting. We need to prioritize getting a plan in place regardless of the direction we take. You quit! What do you mean? Thank you, Emma. Okay. Let's hear what else she has to say.
My co-host explaining that discussing the future of our podcast was the top priority, and that should be handled before responding to brands, and especially before writing in our broadcast channel, self-promoting. So I urged her to get back to me. Now, simultaneously, unfortunately, on this day, the LA fires started. According to Google, they started on January 7th, 4 days after I sent the initial email. Now, I used to live in LA for 7 years. My closest friends live in LA. I was extremely concerned for the safety of those who lived in LA and their homes, their lives. I was extremely upset about the entire situation. I only say this because we'll get to this, but there were some statements made about me, painting me in a not so great light about me being an empathetic person. We were running a business. I spoke to this person every single day for 18 months, and I was
We were running a business. That sounds like you probably weren't empathetic. You're... You speak like you're so right, but you're not, girl.
Being ignored while other aspects of our business were being worked on and attended to. It is completely reasonable for me to send a follow-up email. I think it's reasonable to send a text to your co-host just saying, hey, going through a lot right now. Can we just table this to the end of the month? I'm an empathetic and reasonable person. I would have said, sure, no problem. This could wait. I probably would have explained at that point, I do plan on starting my own podcast, so I'm going to move ahead with that. But like, we can figure out what's happening with Unhinged later. Your safety is a priority. That is how I would have responded. And I'm not just saying that hindsight. But that did not happen.
You're admitting right now that you quit the Unhinged podcast and that you were starting your own. Okay? It was very clear in the messages that you sent to her on New Year's Eve and in the email that you were quitting the podcast. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. Just because one business partner decides to leave doesn't mean the other business partner burns the whole shit down. Am I stupid? Like, is anyone watching and can you tell me? Am I crazy? Like, what the heck?
Happen. Instead, the ghosting continued. So to take it back for a second away from this timeline, when I made the decision to walk away from Unhinged, it was my intention to start my own podcast. I thought about negotiating with my co-host who would take which platform. Maybe I keep Instagram, you keep TikTok, because I created Instagram, she created TikTok, whatever. But ultimately, I did not want to start something that wasn't completely mine. Something that I would forever have to attribute the success to someone else. You know, if I would reach a milestone, it would always be in the back of my mind. Well, I had 100K followers.
So, are you saying that if you were the one that had access to all these accounts, you would not have used it for your new podcast? Am I tired and just in a bad mood? I don't get this girl at all. You quit. You quit and the other girl was like, okay, time to pick myself up by the bootstraps and get this going while there are fires going on and she might lose everything. That's what I'm hearing from you, girly girl. What the fuck?
Or a buffer that I started off with. So no, I didn't grow this from the ground up. That just to me is not acceptable. It's not satisfying. I also wouldn't want to take that credit from someone else.
An audience is not just going to stay for a brand new podcast if they don't want to. You'll be able to see by their views and or their like streams or whatever. But like when I look on YouTube, they don't have that many. It seems like she's working from the ground up with like a little bit of a boost. I'm just trying to think, like, what would I do? And like the fact that she wasn't answering you, like I probably wouldn't either. Like she has a lot going on. She's about to lose her house probably, or possibly. I don't know if she did. Probably not, because you may have said that, I would hope, if she did. But let me untangle my brain. What am I trying to say? You kind of like left her hanging, not left her hanging, but like put her out to dry or whatever. Then whatever the saying is. Like you were just, she asked you like, hey, can you record tomorrow? And then you just kind of like drop this whole thing, like, I'm quitting the podcast, we're never recording again, we need to put together like a plan. No, the plan is, like, if you didn't have that plan in place, if there was a plan in place at first, okay, fine. And she didn't go by what the plan was. But this sounds like you. Okay. I'm getting heated up, but there's still 36 minutes left, so there's probably more, but maybe you'll convince me. I am not too proud to say I'm wrong if I am wrong. But, like, if I had a business partner and they quit and then I was left, like, holding everything up, I probably wouldn't be answering you either, honestly, because I'm trying to not make everything fall down. Okay?
Wanted a clean slate, something I could be proud of and call my own, which is why I moved to dissolve the unhinged accounts or be bought out for my half, because that is how business works. On January 6th,
You might be right with that. I don't really know. Maybe legally you're in the right, but I don't know. I think, like, human nature, the other girl is so far.
I had gotten back from Florida from celebrating New Year's, and I got to fucking work. I had sent my intent to exit, and I was not taking that back. So I knew the future for Unhinged was just a matter of how we were going to end it. So why wait to start something that I wanted to do on my own? On January 7th, I came up with the name. I got the social media accounts.
Where is the text?
From Florida from celebrating New Year's, and I got to fucking work. I had sent my intent to exit, and I was not taking that back. So I knew the future for Unhinged was just a matter of how we were going to end it. So why wait to start something that I wanted to do on my own? On January
Okay. And it'd be like, never lose your muchness. Be too much. Fuck everyone else. I like that. Too much. Oh, so are you talking to... Who are you talking to? And I could do a whole Alice in Wonderland vibe shoot for the cover photo, but like 2025 Alice. That's cute. Then you can incorporate the muchness. January 8th, the Instagram was created. Oh my god, wow, I love it. I have to assume she's not talking to Chloe here. She's talking to somebody else.
January 7th, I came up with the name. I got the social media accounts. I booked the studio for the following week to record my first 2 episodes, which was not going to be about any of this breakup. Now, some of you may be wondering, why rush it? Why not just wait until this is all done? But for a little insight for you into the world of podcasting, consistency is key. If someone listens to your podcast, they go every Tuesday morning and they listen the same time, the same day, every week. It was my co-host's turn to fly out to New York to record our next batch of episodes. However, that did not happen. And Unhinged would run out of episodes on January 7th. So, because I'm a business person, once I realized that that would be our last episode, and I knew I was moving forward with the end of Unhinged, I thought it would be smart to provide an alternative for the Unhinged community who wanted to still follow me, to give them a new podcast, to give them...
It's like off topic, but she's like really pretty. She looks like Victoria Beckham.
a new place to go on Tuesday morning. I couldn't get it together by the 14th because that literally would have been 1 week, but I plan to launch the following week, January 21st. I went all gas, no brakes to make it across the finish line. So in 2 weeks, to put it into perspective, I came up with the name, the concept, the fonts, the colors, the aesthetic, programmed the first 10 episodes, booked my photo shoot, made the cover art, came up with the episode launch graphics, edited the episodes, edited the first batch of TikToks, and also got together a launch party for 9 days post-launch. What you see now is all me.
You hustled. That's awesome. But, like, you weren't able to do that with the other podcast? Like, I don't know. So, yeah, that's frustrating. I didn't realize that the other girl was also flying to you. So if you guys are, like, doing the back and forth flying... Okay, and if she's not coming... Wait a second. January 7th. Of course you knew. Wait, what's happening? She's saying I need to listen to this again. Because she told her initially on New Year's Eve she was quitting.
Just in case, every Tuesday morning and they listen the same time, the same day, every week. It was my co-host's turn to fly out to New York to record our next batch of episodes. However, that did not happen. And Unhinged would run out of episodes on January 7th. So, because I'm a business person, once I realized that that would be our last episode, and I knew I was moving forward with the end of Unhinged, I thought it would be smart to provide an alternative for the Unhinged community who wanted to still follow me.
Okay, I understand what she's saying. She's saying they like batch filmed, and they would run out by January 7th. But Chloe's not flying out to film more because you quit though, right? Like, that's what's going on. Oh, brother.
Me, to give them a new podcast, to give them a new place to go on Tuesday morning. I couldn't get it together by the 14th because that literally would have been 1 week. But I plan to launch the following week, January 21st. I went all gas, no brakes to make it across the finish line. So in 2 weeks, to put it into perspective, I came up with the name, the concept, the fonts, the colors, the aesthetic, programmed the first 10 episodes, booked my photo shoot, made the cover art, came up with the episode launch graphics, edited the episodes, edited the first batch of TikToks, and also got together a launch party for 9 days post-launch. What you see now is all me. Just in case anyone questions whether or not I contributed to the creative behind Unhinged. Now back to the timeline of things. On January 8th, I still heard nothing. I gave it another week. January 14th was going to be our first Tuesday without launching an episode. So we had an obligation to let our audience know that there was...
Okay, so she's saying there's like, it's very confusing because like they're texting each other and emailing each other. So she's saying January 8th she hadn't heard back. But you quit, and you quit twice. You doubled down, and then you sent an email. And you obviously knew that. You knew you weren't going back because you created a whole new podcast, which is fine. Girl, you gotta do what you gotta do. But like, so did she, right? Why am I on this girl's side? Why am I on this girl's side? I don't know. I haven't watched her video. Maybe I should go look at that video after this. Not tonight. But petty little rich people problems. I'm sorry, it's hard to take this kind of stuff serious.
There was not going to be an episode launching that day. Now, since 2 weeks had gone by since my first attempt at getting in touch, I started consulting with a couple of lawyers. Nothing official yet, but I needed to get my ducks in a row. And I was going to do this by the book with integrity. I was advised to send a formal notice of dissolution and propose the next steps. And what was made clear to me was that even though we did not have a contract on paper, under New York State law, which is where we started the podcast, we are considered an implied partnership, which holds up in the court of law. And that we are both co-owners of this podcast and all of its associated accounts due to the split of work, profit sharing, the name's use in commerce, and public representation as co-owners. I mean, it was even in both of our Instagram bios. Half of Unhinged. So on January 13th, I sent a formal notice of dissolution via email. I opened up the email by saying, I hope you are staying safe. And then I laid out what...
She must have posted this in her Instagram too. Okay, so it looks like she sent her like a quick little blurb. It says, "Hi, hello Chloe. I hope you're staying safe and doing okay in LA." Okay, that's the most insincere thing I've ever heard you say. In the 15 minutes I've heard you speak. Please see attached for the notice of dissolution agreement regarding notifying our audience. I think it's in our best interest to post a story tomorrow morning in lieu of an episode, suggested verbiage attached, letting them know we're taking a pause this week while we sort things out and get the agreement signed. We can announce the ending of the podcast the following Tuesday, January 21st, or in the following days with another story and post with the Attached suggested verbiage. Please let me know by end of day today or tomorrow. Girl, you're the one who like doesn't want to answer emails and shit, and you're like putting all these timelines on this girl, and you're telling her not to put timelines on you. It's just a little crazy. Okay, dear Chloe, and her whole name is written there. I hope this message finds you well as we've built Unhinged together since its launch in June 2023. I deeply appreciate the time, effort, and creativity we've both invested. After thoughtful consideration, I believed it is our mutual best interest to dissolve our podcast partnership to ensure a fair and amicable resolution moving forward. The terms of the dissolution are as follows. This doesn't sound 50-50. Okay, ownership. As co-creators of Unhinged, we acknowledge that ownership of all podcast-related assets, including but not limited to its social media accounts, likeness, branding, intellectual property, and any blah. Okay, she sent her... This is not... Okay, whatever. Just because you're saying it doesn't mean she has to do it. Then on the 17th of January, dear Chloe, despite my multiple attempts at... Okay, let's listen to what she has to say.
What dissolving the podcast would look like. And I closed it by saying, and I quote, I want this process to reflect the respect we've shared throughout this partnership, and I'm committed to working with you to finalize the details fairly and promptly. Please let me know if you have any questions, suggestions, or require clarification on any of the points. If you are in agreement with the above terms, please confirm by signing the following page. Or let's schedule a time to discuss further adjustments. So I said that to essentially be like, I wanted to...
The hypocrisy. The hypocrisy. Okay. You're saying sign this or it's this. That's like an ultimatum. And you told her to stop giving you ultimatums. Girl. I don't even know what to say. The world confuses the hell out of me. Like...
dissolve. But if you would, like to keep it, like to buy me out, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. Oh my gosh, this is very frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating. But, like, you quit. You let your emotions get the best of you, and before you had your ducks in a row, you quit. Okay? And then she took the accounts that she had access to. You quit. You quit. Just because you say, hey, I don't want to do it anymore, doesn't mean that she has to not do it anymore. Or just because you say you don't want to do it anymore doesn't mean that she has to say, like, okay, well, then you have to buy me out. Okay. I have a friend. This friend has a brother. They were left a house. Okay? 50% his, 50% hers. He doesn't live there. Okay? But just because he doesn't want to live there doesn't mean that my friend can't live there anymore because he decided he didn't want to live there. If they're going to sell the house, they both need to agree on it. Like a house and a business, they're both assets. But just because he moved out doesn't mean that she now owes him rent. Just because you quit doesn't mean she owes you money. And if the law says differently, well, that logic doesn't make sense in my brain.
So with this, I also sent a suggested story that we would post the next day, essentially saying to our audience that we weren't going to have an episode go live that day. My initial thought was to maybe say it's because of the LA fires, but then I thought that would be a lie because that is not why we are taking a pause. So I sent a story to my co-host in this email that said, hi guys, we are taking a pause this week. If you're in need of a good laugh, here's another episode you can watch instead. That was it. Plain, blunt, to the point. I also sent another story to be posted on January 21st announcing the end of Unhinged. Again, it was brief, to the point, and it said if you would like to keep up with Emma, you can find her here, and if you'd like to keep up with...
Okay, after an incredible journey, we've made the difficult decision to end Unhinged. This podcast has been such a special part of our lives, and we're so grateful for the love, laugh, and support you've shown us all the way. Thank you for being part of this adventure with us. While this chapter is closing, the memories and connections we've built with you will always hold a place in our hearts. If you'd like to keep up with Emma and Chloe, you can follow them at the below accounts. Influencers are just so disingenuous. It's crazy.
With co-host, you can find her here with both respective tags. Again, I received no response. However, later that night, I went on Instagram and I saw a story go live on our shared account that said, we are taking a pause because of the fires. Let me remind you, still no communication, none. And I had just sent an email a couple hours ago with a formal notice of dissolution and asking her to approve my suggested story. I'm still asking for approval because that was the checks and balance system that we had in place. Nothing like this went live without discussing it. So I went onto our account.
You quit.
I took a screenshot, I took the story down, and I texted her and I said, I just sent you a notice of dissolution. You cannot be posting things.
God, you're so entitled. It's insane. Okay. So it looks like the text, something will not be tolerated. As it's 8 p.m., this conversation is over. Please expect detailed email from me in the coming days. Bitch! We read that earlier, but like, the more you talk, the more I disagree with you. Chloe, I have sent you a notice of dissolution outlining we are to not post henceforth without both of us approving messaging. Please review the notice. I will be taking down this story. Okay. If you still have access to the accounts, fine. Take down the story, whatever. You're kind of a condescending asshole, if I'm being honest. Tomorrow we're watching what Chloe posted. Hang on, let's see. What was the new podcast name? Unbothered? Unbothered podcast. Like, literally, there's only 1,000 subscribers. Like, what are you... I don't see that she posted anything, but I didn't look that far into it. I just looked up the podcast page.
Things like this without discussing it with me first. Please answer me. Again, no response. That was January 13th, 10 days after the initial attempt. On January 17th, officially 2 weeks after I sent my first attempt at amicably
10 days after the attempt, while there are LA fires going on, and you quit. Okay? You quit. And while you were using those 10 days to create and do your own new podcast, she was likely doing the same thing to try to keep the podcast afloat, which you quit. You quit. You quit. Why are you making the decision for her? Ugh. The entitlement.
Dissolving the podcast, I was at wit's end. I needed to do something. I asked a lawyer, how do I get her to respond if I'm not like banging on her actual door? Like what do I do? I was moving ahead with my launch of Too Much. I just felt completely at a loss. I did not know what to do. The legal advice I received was to change 1 to 2 passwords while offering to share the passwords directly to my co-host in efforts to initiate a conversation, to get her attention, and hopefully try to just get a response. So that's what I did. It was a business move and a legal one. What I was told by this lawyer was that as long as there was no proof that I withheld the passwords and there was proof that I offered them up, that this was totally legal to do. So I did it. I changed only the Instagram and TikTok passwords, and I did it at the exact same time as sending an email to my co-host explaining why I did it,
I told you I was going to do it, so it's fine. Girl, come on. You can't be serious. Okay, we're going to read this email. January 17th. 10:52. Okay. Dear Chloe, despite my multiple attempts to resolve this matter amicably and bring our partnership on the Unhinged podcast to a close, girl, it wasn't amicably. Come on. Come on. You just explained to us for 20 minutes how it wasn't amicable. Anyway, you have repeatedly ignored my communication and failed to honor our agreement regarding shared ownership of the podcast assets. As a result, I have no choice but to take action to protect the integrity of our shared platforms. To be clear, I have taken the step to changing the login credentials to our social media accounts to prevent further unauthorized activity from either party as a direct response to your actions until we can come to a resolution regarding the future of Unhinged. This is not my first nor preferred course of action. Since January 3rd, my first attempt at amicably dissolving this podcast, the issues I need to address are as follows. 1. Failure to respond. You have ignored multiple emails and text messages from me in an attempt to discuss a clean and amicable dissolution of our partnership. As a 50-50 partner, I have the right to seek this resolution. But you quit. Also, she's going through LA fires, so you're kind of an asshole. In your first messages, the whole reason you quit the podcast is because you didn't want to follow deadlines or answer emails in a timely manner, because it seemed like she probably nagged you about it, and that's... Okay. Jeez Louise. Unauthorized communication with brands. Are you the boss, though? Like, is she your employee? Like, if she's your employee, fire her. But this does not sound like a 50-50... This does not sound 50-50 to me. I'd be so annoyed if someone said, you sound like you did not play well with kids in the playground. Yeah. Unauthorized communication with brands. You have communicated with brands on my behalf without my consent or consultation. No. This is a direct violation of our partnership. Maybe post the contract so we can see. Posting without approval. You have posted on the Unhinged TikTok and Instagram accounts without mutual approval. Why would she need your approval since you quit the podcast? But anyway, this goes against our standard agreement and disregards my decision to dissolve the podcast. Previously, no for one person means no has been a standard practice. I do not wish to move forward with the podcast. That is a firm no on my end, which you have disregarded. Oh my god. Girl, you really thought you did something here. I have made every reasonable attempt to avoid escalating this situation, but your continued lack of response and disregard for our agreement has left me with no other option. Changing the account credentials is a necessary step to protect both of our interests. If you wish to regain access to these accounts, I am happy to provide you with the necessary credentials. Please set up a time for a phone... Girl, she's not going to answer you. Come on. Please set up a time for a phone or Zoom call to ensure secure transfer of information, and we can align on future of the podcast. And it's asked that's during. I trust we can come to a resolution without further delay. I look forward to your prompt response. Emma. Okay. Oh, there's so much communication.
I was doing and offering the new login credentials back. And what I stated was that I would happily give her the new passwords if she.
Did she say that? I read the whole email. Oh, okay. Okay, if you wish to regain access to these accounts, I'm happy to provide you with the necessary credentials. Please set up a time. Girl, you took everything hostage is what it looks like to me. Honestly, I don't care who's right in the eyes of the law. I don't care. That's all corrupt anyway. It's like you wanted to screw her over so bad. Shit. I forgot to put myself on mute. She's wrong. Whether the law says she's right or wrong, in my eyes, she's wrong regardless.
You would give me a phone call to ensure secure transfer of information. And while we're on the call, we could discuss the future of Unhinged. I shit you not, I did this at the exact same time because I made sure I did not want there to be any. I changed, and then 2 hours later I sent the email, or even a minute later. I wanted it to be at the exact same time. So I went like this. Now this is where things get ugly. Again, I got no response. I believe we're at email 4 and day 14. So instead of a response within a few hours, I was locked out of not only our Instagram and TikTok, but every single joint account that I had with my business partner. I'm talking Spotify, which is our streaming host, which means Apple, Amazon, Audible, everything. Our Gmail account, our joint email that we communicated with brands on, with external partners, everyone. So essentially all of my contacts I was locked out of. Our Descript account, which is what we edit all of the episodes on. All of our content lives in there, all of our TikToks, everything. And every other social media platform.
I'm not saying she did this, but imagine she's sending these emails to like an email that isn't being checked or something. So she could be like, actually, I informed you. And like, she's saying she got logged out. Okay, they're both playing dirty now, but you did it first. You threw the first stone, you quit, and you changed the passwords first and gave her an ultimatum, and she was like, I keep forgetting to take myself off mute. I'll figure this out. It's just, girl, I forget what I was even saying. Okay, so she logged you out of everything, but you like threw the first stone. You did it first. I don't care that you sent her emails to let her know. Like, okay, sure, you're doing stuff to cover your ass, but you're not in the right. You're not in the right. I don't think you're in the right. Like, you want to be petty, change the passwords. She pettied back. I don't know what to say.
Platform that we had, but those are the important ones. Now, unlike what I did, I was not given any notice. There was no communication, and there was no offer of regaining access. And I have been locked out ever since. So as you can imagine, I was stunned. I was completely shocked. I also was confused at how the fuck this just happened because I thought I just changed the password. It's like, what? But I guess that was my millennial side of me showing because I don't know how she did it. So I was bugging out. I called my lawyer friend right away and I was like, what the fuck do I do? But ultimately I decided to take a beat and recalibrate because cooler heads prevail. That night, Mr. Wright, ironically, was taking me to see Wicked for my Christmas gift. And he had put a lot of effort into it. And I was not going to let this, no pun intended, bring me down. Wasn't going to bring me down. So I put my phone away and I went out to dinner with him. I had a fucking like 10 glasses of wine and we had a great time. I was sobbing throughout the entire thing because it was a brunette and a blonde fighting. And one of them wasn't going to let them bring them down and was not going to care what everyone's perspective of her was and was going to show the world what she was made of, even though she was betrayed by her friend. It was very ironic, very odd. Anyways, had a great night. Took the weekend to think about it all. I was planning to launch Too Much on that following Tuesday, January 21st. So I was like,
how were you betrayed by your friend when you did it first, though? And you're like, the only way I'll give you the passwords back is if... Oh my god. As if you get on a Zoom call with me and agree to this dissolution agreement that I sent you. She didn't want to agree. You should have had the agreement in place to begin with. I'm sorry, this is all petty nonsense. Petty nonsense.
stay focused. Don't get petty. Let's fucking go. We can do this. She just locked me out. There was nothing posted yet. Like, I will figure this out. And that Tuesday was going to mark 19 days since I had spoken to my business partner. So I obviously wanted to get it all sorted out before we launched.
No longer your business partner because you quit. Okay.
But I wasn't going to let it slow me down. So I moved forward and I introduced Too Much to the world. After, of course, all of the celebratory feedback that I got and all the excitement on social media, I started to receive a lot of questions. A lot of people being like, what the fuck happened on Unhinged? What is going on? What is this new podcast? And I felt the audience needed to and deserved to know the position that I was in and why I was doing this. So I put together a video that I posted on Instagram later that day on my personal account, explaining my reality. Mind you, my personal account, I think at that time had like 19,000 followers. So just a detail. Anyways, I filmed the thing like 5 times. I sent it around to my manager at the time, to someone who consulted me on a few things, to my lawyer friend, to my boyfriend. I sent it to everyone. And it was 6 minutes long. I explained all of this, including that I changed the Instagram and TikTok passwords first, and then that it got changed on me. However, Instagram does not let you post a reel that's longer than 3 minutes. And this was 6 minutes. So I had to cut out like 90% of the details, and I decided to just boil it down to what was really important. And that was that I no longer had access to the Unhinged accounts. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I hadn't heard from my co-host. I've just been locked out of everything, including my email and our streaming platforms. So I no longer had control of the accounts, and I had no knowledge or consent of what was going to go up on the accounts going forward. That is what I told my audience.
Okay, I can appreciate that you're like trying to be honest, but that's a really, really big piece of information to be missing. That you changed the passwords on her first. Girl, come on. I need to go to bed. It's like 1:30 in the morning. Let's keep listening.
Did I leave out my little piece? Yeah, sure. But sorry, I only had 3 minutes, and I was not going to put it on the podcast. It was not going to be my first episode. So that's what I chose to do. Did it bite me in the ass? A little bit. But I've been nothing but honest with you guys. So after I posted that, I got like 1 to 2 negative comments, but the rest of it was all like really supportive and amazing. And I still didn't hear anything from my co-host on January 21st. So honestly, after that, I thought everything was fine. But boy, was I wrong. For the next 6 days after launch, everything went incredibly well. I was on a high. I was so excited for the future. I, of course, was really sad about what was happening with Unhinged, and I was really confused, but I was just going to trust the process. And I was like, clearly, this is what I was meant to do. This redirection was meant for me because things are going well, and I'm feeling really fucking good about it. On January 27th, now 24 days after my first attempted communication, I heard from my co-host for the first time. She essentially told me that she was going to keep Unhinged, and she claimed that she owned...
Okay. So this is an email to Emma from Chloe on January 27th. Let's find that receipt and read it. Hi, Emma. See how she says hi? Doesn't just start it with Emma. Okay. I am perplexed and sad that we are here. Girl, I hear you. I received your email on January 3rd and was caught off guard. Instead of immediately responding, it was important to sit with it, think about what I wanted from myself and Unhinged, and then provide a fair and measured response. I thought that was reasonable, especially since you didn't respond to my earlier text sent days prior, trying to make things work. Instead of giving me a moment to breathe, you immediately escalated things as I was literally evacuating my place from the fires. You didn't take a minute to see if I was okay, but you were happy to create your own IG fundraiser for the fires and use Unhinged IG to promote it. Okay. If that's true, that's crazy. And that's exactly what I thought. Like, she was sending emails, or not emails, text messages, and you weren't answering the text messages. And you're very kind of CUNTYE? Like, what? With your responses to her being like, these are my strict boundaries. You cannot contact me right now. It's past my time of my boundary time frame. And so I'm not going to respond. I'm only going to respond by sending this asshole message to you first. And then you send an email to her. Like, I get it. I get it. You're both being petty, but I'm sorry. You are the asshole here. Like you, I struggled with how to respond, but after you intentionally locked me out of the social accounts I set up, I started a new podcast and defamed me on multiple occasions. It's clear there is no making things work. Instead of getting into all that has happened between us, I think it's important to figure out a path forward so that each of us can move on, prioritizing our respective health and happiness. I don't contest that we jointly own the episodes we created together, but I came up with the name of the podcast. I set up the accounts. I never assigned them to you, and therefore they belong to me. If there is any revenue that I receive from the podcast we recorded together, I will account to you and send you your 50% share. In additional and in exchange from mutual release, where among other things we agree not to disparage each other, I will pay you either option A, 15% of revenue from brand deals for the rest of Q1, or option B, 50% of revenue from the next 3 brand deals. I make this offer to peacefully settle this dispute, which will hopefully help you continue to build too much while I have the option to separately continue with Unhinged. Please let me know by the end of today, and I'll have the agreement drafted that sets forth the above. Okay. They're both being petty. But, like, I get it. You quit. You quit. You quit. And there's no agreement in place. Ugh.
All of the platforms, because allegedly she started them, aka signed us up, and that she was willing to give me 15% of the revenue for the next 3 months. Still, when I say this out loud, I am at a loss for words. I have never been so insulted in my entire life.
But you're not part of the podcast anymore because you quit. So it's kind of fair that you would get revenue for the next 3 months and then call it quits.
And like I said before, every aspect, down to email responses to brands, the posting schedule, the editing schedule, every aspect of that podcast was a 50-50 split. Even the Instagram posts were 1-to-1. Today, me, tomorrow, you. And I was being told that my contribution for the last year and a half was only worth 15% of what a 600,000 follower brand would bring in for the next 3 months. The other option that I was provided was 50% of the next 3 brand deals, which was equally as insulting. So I wrote out this long emotional email, basically being like, how dare you, trying to prove in an email my contribution and how I was a 50-50 partner and how insane this was. But then I stopped and I thought to myself, do not waste your fucking breath. Because you cannot reason with logic with an illogical person, in my opinion. So I responded back with 2 sentences. I said that I was going to review her claims and her proposal with my lawyer and prepare a counterproposal that I would share with her sometime next week when I'm ready. And until that is figured out and decided between the 2 of us, that nothing is to be posted or done to the Unhinged accounts. I got a response later that night saying, great, I'm so glad that you are willing to settle this amicably. But however, since I'm going to be continuing with the Unhinged accounts, we're going to need to settle this quicker and I'm going to need a response by Monday. Naturally, this pissed me off because 1, how can you give me a deadline when you just ghosted me for 25 days? Doesn't really seem
This girl hates deadlines. I told you in the first like 2 minutes. Like deadlines piss her off.
Unfair. Number 2, you locked me out of all of my accounts. And number 3, you just provided me an insulting offer, implying that I practically had nothing to do with the success of Unhinged. So I responded back and I laid it out very clearly. I explained under New York State.
Okay, so it says Chloe. Again, just Chloe. No, hi, Chloe. No niceties. None of it was nice. You weren't trying to do this amicably. Ever. Okay. Chloe, I fear you were misinformed regarding your claims to sole ownership. We have an implied partnership and 50-50 ownership given our equal contribution, profit sharing, and public representation as co-owners. For more clarification, implied partnership, we have equally contributed to the podcast's growth, shared responsibilities, and split profits 50-50 under partnership law. This establishes joint ownership. But you quit, though. Ugh. And she's offering some revenue from the next 3 months, even after you quit with like no notice. Just because you were thinking about it doesn't mean she knew about that. Intellectual property and brand name. Trademark law prioritizes use in commerce, not just who thought of the name. We have both used the brand equally in all public-facing aspects. Until you quit. Social media accounts. Simply creating the accounts does not grant exclusive ownership, as they represent a joint business asset that we both actively manage. Legal precedent. If one party contributes equally in profits or shared, they cannot be excluded from ownership after the fact. I understand this if you hadn't quit first. Okay? I am completely dissatisfied with the offer you have presented, and I am making my counter based on what I want done with all the existing assets and the future of our podcast, which I will share when it is completed on my own timeline. As mentioned, sometime next week, I am an equal owner and have until I have the opportunity to bring forth my preferences and we come to an agreement. Nothing will be posted on the Unhinged accounts. Under the terms mentioned above, neither of us has the right to unilaterally control or exclude the other without mutual agreement. Any further use on your part would constitute misappropriation of business assets. I tried to carry this out amicably 28 days ago. No, you didn't. But this was completely mishandled on your part, and the way you're choosing to continue to handle this is insulting. If you needed time to process on January 3rd, out of respect for our business partner, all you needed to do was send a quick note asking for more time. Okay, so you're referring to her as your business partner, but she's not your business partner when you quit, though. And you had no intention of like using Unhinged. Like you just don't want her to use it. Like you started this podcast. You had no intention of using Unhinged. And I don't know. This is crazy. I tried to carry this out amicably 28 days ago, but this was completely mishandled on your part, and the way you're choosing to continue to handle this is insulting. If you needed time to process on January 3rd, out of respect for your business partner, all you needed to do was send a quick note asking for more time, but instead you ignored numerous attempts at communication. It has never been my intention for this to get here, but if necessary, I reserve the right to take legal action to protect my interests. Sure. Still, it doesn't mean you're not an asshole. It doesn't mean that I think you're wrong or right.
Law, we have an implied partnership and 50-50 ownership, given our equal contributions, our profit sharing, and public representation as co-owners. I then laid out that within an implied partnership, we have equally contributed to the podcast growth, shared responsibilities, and split profits 50-50, and under partnership law, this establishes joint ownership. Intellectual property and brand name. Trademark law prioritizes use in commerce, not just who thought of the name. We have both used the brand equally in all public-facing aspects. Because, sorry, I don't think I mentioned that. She claimed that she also owned it because she came up with the name. Social media accounts. Simply creating the accounts does not grant exclusive ownership, as they represent a joint business asset that we both actively manage. Finally, legal precedent. If one party contributes equally and profits are shared, they cannot be excluded from ownership after the fact. I made it clear that I was dissatisfied with the offer and that I am in my right to make a counterproposal in a timeline that is suitable to me. And until that is done, the accounts are not to be touched. Neither of us have the right to unilaterally control or exclude the other without mutual agreement. I then said, I tried to carry this out amicably 28 days ago, but this was completely mishandled, and the way that you are choosing to continue to handle it is insulting. If you needed time to process on January 3rd out of respect for your business partner, all you needed to do was send a quick note asking for more time, but instead you ignored numerous attempts at communication. It has never been my intention for this to get here, but if necessary, I reserve the right to take legal action to protect my interests. Again, that is all in my Instagram story highlights. It has been up there since February 4th, so feel free to read the entire email. I'm not...
Sounds like a threat. Sounds like an ultimatum. Do what I want you to do, or I'm going to sue you. But you told her earlier, oh, all of the hypocrisy is like too much for me to handle. In your first messages from, it was either January 2nd or New Year's Eve, I can't remember. It was right at the beginning. You said that you weren't going to deal with ultimatums. So you know that they're kind of shitty thing to do. Why are you doing it? Because you didn't get your way. It really feels like you quit the podcast and then went, oh shit, she might still be able to profit. And I don't think she's working as hard as me, and I don't want her to have success off of the back of this project. If you were smart, like you sound like you are, you would have put an agreement in place before just friggin' quitting. All of this would have been avoided. And yeah, she locked you out of the accounts, but you locked her out of the accounts first. Like, oh my god, I've had friends like you. I've had so many friends like you. Triggering.
hiding a goddamn thing. So, surprise, I never received a response. I followed up the next day, January 31st, also my birthday, to request my rightful access back to the accounts while I prepare my...
As I work to prepare my counter proposal, I will need to regain access to every account that I've Please respond to this email end of day today. That's a timeline. I thought you don't like timelines. Oy. With all the login credential to the below shared unhinged accounts, blah, 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 blah. Please be advised that withholding these could constitute the misappropriation of joint assets. Ugh, the lawyer speak. Like, just be a human.
My counter proposal. Now, if you remember earlier on in this episode, when I was advised by my lawyer to change the 2 passwords, the only way it would not be illegal is if there is no proof of the passwords being withheld, and there is proof that the new passwords are being offered up to your counterpart. So that's what I did. However, my request to regain access on January 31st with a deadline of end of day was ignored. I sent another follow-up on February 1st requesting access back to my owned accounts, but again, they were withheld from me. So on February 4th, 2025, I woke up to the unthinkable. My podcast, Unhinged, was gone. I was erased from its existence. And in its place was a new podcast, Unbothered. And there was an actual video about me using my name on my platforms. So if it's not clear what this all means, all of the work that I had done for a year and a half, every word I put out into the world, every single Instagram post, graphic that I made, reel, was gone. The logo was changed. I was deleted from the bio. Every tagged video of me was gone. Every single one of the 80 episodes that we released on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon was gone. The podcast itself was changed across every single platform. Yet there were still 93,000 Instagram followers, 500,000 followers on TikTok, 20,000 followers on Spotify. Every one of those 600,000 people consented to follow Unhinged, not Unbothered. The 430 reviews left on the Unhinged account, those stayed. Those are still there, even though the episodes that they corresponded with were gone. So to an onlooker who doesn't really know how podcasts work, they come to this new podcast, they see Unbothered, and it has 430, 5 4-star reviews. Wow, this podcast must be amazing. And the kicker was that I was blocked from seeing any of this. And so were all of my friends and all of my family members. Anyone who who wanted to come back for me or try to support me was blocked. To me, that doesn't really seem like the behavior of someone who's doing something innocent. In my
The people who followed us only consented to follow Unhinged. Were you not around when you two downloaded their entire album to all of our iPhones? And you think changing the name of a podcast is a big deal? It's crazy.
my opinion. So this was 6 a.m. on February 4th. I sat in my living room for about an hour, just completely in shock. Knees up on the couch, just like, what the fuck just happened? It's my account, but it's a different name. It's the same studio, but someone else is sitting in my chair. It's practically the same branding, just a different logo and different colors. And oddly enough, the colors seemed really similar to Too Much. So I'm watching this video about myself at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday. The email that I sent, specifically the one on January 17th, was embedded in the video as an overlay. And the claim was that this was an email proving that Emma changed the passwords first, that she was the one who locked me out, not me.
Did.
However, she took out the portion where I said, give me a call and I will give you the new passwords. The passwords that I changed were done with the sole purpose of initiating a conversation with my business partner. The passwords that were changed by my ex-co-host were done to lock me out.
You gave her an ultimatum. She didn't like it. So, girl, I'm on her side. We're 32 minutes in. You still haven't flipped me.
Never offering me access back. I don't have time to clear up all of the other points in that video, but a couple highlights that I have. She had to compare us to Call Her Daddy, and that split. Except the difference with that was that that was all legal, and that all had contracts in place, and that was done by the book. And lastly, bringing the fires into it. To me, that is completely inappropriate to capitalize on other people's trauma to benefit you and how you are painted in this situation. I sent my first email 5 days before the fires started. And most importantly, fires don't give you an excuse to steal a business, in my opinion. Anyways, in this moment of crisis, my brain truthfully just started mapping out every possible route I could take and what each outcome would be. I thought about posting a long-ass TikTok rebuttal video right then and there, but then I thought that will accomplish nothing. Also, I was fucking furious, so God knows what would have come out of my mouth. But I took my own advice, and I sat there, and I was in my apartment by myself. Mr. Wright was at the gym because it was literally 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I'm okay. My body's okay. Mr. Wright is okay. My family's okay. I am physically okay. So after taking a minute and just really trying to decide what to do, I knew I wanted to act because I wasn't going to let this just like happen on the internet. I decided I was going to post these screenshots of our email communication. I had nothing to hide. I still don't. So to me, I just felt I needed to calmly and clearly refute what was being said. And this was the best way I could have thought to do so because there was a doctored email out there that I sent and people needed to see the full email. They needed to see the full picture. So that's what I did. Posted out my Instagram story highlights. It's still there. That's when that happened. And like I said, I was blocked. And honestly, it was almost lucky that I was because I was not able to see what was going on. But I did have some friends who weren't blocked. And they were sending me screenshots of the pro Emma comments being left on the video on Instagram and Spotify that were also one by one being deleted. So the next thing I did, I got a fucking lawyer. Since February 4th, I have been fighting 2 battles. Number 1 is to right the wrong that has been done to me. And number 2 is to make the success of Too Much my greatest revenge. I have tried to keep my head down, stay focused on my success, and be the bigger person. But I am human. And this has been harrowing. As much as I try to be strong every single day and just keep fucking pushing forward, I have not gotten a good night's sleep in 2.5 months. Watching something I created be stolen, grown, and even celebrated, I don't even have words for it. It's fucking awful. We sent a cease and desist letter on February 12th. Nothing happened. But that is where the communication began with my lawyer and my ex-co-host lawyer. For 2 months straight, my lawyer has been going back and forth with hers to come to a settlement that would be fair for both of us. But it has been unsuccessful. I tried to tell myself that I don't care what people think. Keep working. The truth will reveal itself. I know my truth. Ignore the noise. But it still bothered me. And it bothered me so much that I started to question myself. Do I care? Because it seems like I do. And then I realized, if I did something that people don't agree with and they started talking shit, that's fine. I can own my actions and deal with consequences because I know how to take accountability. So I wouldn't care what's said. But when untruths are told about me and my character to the very people whose trust I put so much effort.
So the untruth stuff, I feel like we're not going to find that out tonight because I'm not going to watch Chloe's. I saw it's on Spotify. It's 9 minutes long. So maybe tomorrow when I'm getting ready. But I have a doctor's appointment first thing in the morning. So hopefully she wraps this up soon.
Effort into earning. That's when I care. I also understand that I am the one who wanted to walk away from Unhinged. However, when you are in business with someone who is your equal partner, you own 50%. I wanted to dissolve the platforms completely because in my eyes, it is not fair for one person to ride the coattails of what we created together. I was also confident in myself that I could do this on my own. I grew one.
If I can't have it, nobody can. Ugh, I hate people like this.
Podcast, I could do it again. But of course, I know dissolving is not the only course of action in business. If one person wants to continue on with the business and own 100% of it, they must purchase the 50% that they do not own in one form or another, however they want to compensate the business partner for that 50%. And that price is calculated based on
She gave you an offer. I read it. She did.
the valuation of the business, the current revenue stream, and the partner's contribution. In the Oxford Dictionary, the definition of stealing is the act of taking another person's property, intellectual or physical, without permission or legal right and without intending to return it. As of this moment and for the last 2.5 months, Unbothered is operating on the Unhinged accounts without my permission, without my consent, and with no compensation paid to me for my half of the business. Also, to clear something up, if you didn't catch me saying this earlier, I started the Spotify account and the Instagram account and the Gmail account. That's something that I never thought would matter, but since my ex-co-host is claiming that she started them all, and that because of that, that gives her sole ownership and the right to keep the accounts, I just wanted to make that known. Also, I have written evidence of myself notifying my ex-co-host that I created the Instagram account on May 23rd, 2023, providing her the login credentials. And then another written piece of evidence on June 28th, notifying my co-host that I started the Gmail account and the Spotify account and providing the login credentials. To which both she responded, "Thank you so much," acknowledging that I did so. The platforms Unbothered is operating on, they are my property, and Unhinged and all of my intellectual property was deleted without my permission. What they are doing is wrong, in my opinion. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. They're just social media accounts, but this is so much bigger than that. This was becoming my main source of income. The way podcasts make money is based on the number of streams and downloads that you have. So every time someone listens, that's a stream/download. And these episodic downloads never go away. They accumulate over time, even if an episode is deleted. These are things that you cannot see as a user, but networks, agencies, brands, they can see them and they ask for those numbers. That is the number that they're looking for to decide how much they're going to pay you. So to take what was Unhinged and to slap a new name on it, it's not starting a new podcast. All of the data that I contributed to is still there on the back end. So if a brand were to come to Unbothered and say, "Hey, we would like to work with you guys, what are your all-time downloads?" They would give a number that came from another podcast, a number earned by the content produced by that podcast. And the amount that they would get paid is directly based on that number. Same thing with the reviews. What's the metric that you notice when you go to watch something, whether it's a movie or a podcast, you look at the reviews. That's what makes you watch something, the ratings. And keeping those ratings there is completely misleading to the public, in my opinion. So in the spirit of transparency, my proposal in this settlement was the following. Number one, my ex-co-host could keep the Instagram and TikTok if I am fairly paid an agreed upon amount that reflects my 50% contribution to the podcast and all that I invested in it. And number two, that the streaming platforms be deleted and neither of us would keep them. That's the Spotify, the Apple, the Amazon, all of those, because the number of followers are not visible to the public. The back-end data is solely due to my time on the podcast with my co-host, and the reviews do not reflect that of the current show operating on the account. Therefore, they would be monetizing at a much higher level, and I would have no access to the revenue that is rightfully mine. Towards the end, which is ultimately the height of our success on Unhinged, we were making around $20,000 a month. So my proposal reflected that. After 2 months of going back and forth on this settlement, we have come to an impasse. This past week, I was offered $5,000 for Unbothered to continue operating on my owned accounts. $5,000 for a 600,000 follower brand. We were quoting brands at $8,000 to $12,000 per TikTok. And that is what my ex-co-host is offering me. Now, in business, if you cannot afford or you refuse to pay someone for their half of the business, the result is not that you get to just refuse and keep going and keep using the business and running it as usual. You forfeit the right to keep the business, for either of us to keep the business. It gets dissolved, yet Unbothered is still up and running on those accounts. And that is why I'm here, telling you the account of what is currently going on, the truth that is being kept from you. I hate that I even feel I need to explain this to you, but we truly split everything. All of the editing. We would get an episode back from the studio. One person this week would do the first pass, the other person would do the second pass. One person would do the first pass at the graphic, then the other person would do the second pass.
I'm not a lawyer, okay? So she's probably right that she has, like, legal ground or whatever. I think it's stupid. Like, who cares? You weren't going to use those accounts. Ugh. It's like stores. They're like, they throw food away instead of giving it to people. It's like, no, if we don't get paid for it, no one gets to eat. I just... I hate this so much. I'm probably the only one who thinks of this.
This whole thing was flip-flop the second week. Everything had such checks and balances in place. I did at a minimum 50% of all of the graphic design, including coming up with the logo. My acid story on TikTok made us $5,000 and got us around 200,000 followers. The story about me sleeping with a murderer, that got us 100,000 followers and a couple grand. I brought something to the table, and I know my worth, and it is far more than $5,000 or 15% of revenue for the next 3 months. There is still to this day no acknowledgement of my 50-50 share. My co-host continues to capitalize and monetize on what we built together. And the audience I helped grow thinks that I'm the villain because of her words, which is why I'm speaking out now. This has gone on far too long. I don't know what's going to happen after I post this, but the way I've been treated throughout this process and the way my contribution and participation to Unhinged has been boiled down to practically nothing is something that I will not stand for. You, the audience, deserve to know the real truth, and I certainly will not keep that from you. Am I risking the public's perception of me by sharing this? Yeah, probably. But her and I both know the truth. And I believe in my heart, as long as I am honest with the world and only try to put good out into it, the universe will take care of me. I am trying my fucking hardest to trust this process. I've dealt with it for the past 2.5 months. What's a little more abuse? The truth is worth it to me. I always preach to you guys, rejection is redirection. Do not take shit. Keep your head up, keep going, keep pushing. Look for silver linings, look for lessons. Find the good in the bad. And I practice what I preach. I have taken a couple lessons from this, and hopefully you will too. Number one being, do not get into business with people that you don't know. Do I regret it? No, because I wouldn't be sitting here now and I wouldn't have been able to reach all of you, but I definitely wouldn't advise it. Number two, I don't care who you get into business with. If it's your best goddamn friend, your sister, your mother, your cousin, an acquaintance, get a contract in place. Like, it doesn't need to be in one person's favor or another. Just get something in writing, dear God. That is my biggest regret. And number three, there's not enough out there protecting the creator. The creator marketplace has outpaced the legal system and even the terms and agreements on these streaming platforms. I have felt so unprotected and so at a loss. So I'm definitely going to be smarter about all of this going forward. So what am I looking to get out of this last hour of my trauma dump and actual account of what I'm currently going through? Firstly, a good night's sleep. I have been so pent up trying to stay quiet about this and trying to be the bigger person and let the legal system do its thing, telling myself everything will work out. But you know what? It hasn't been. So I'm getting in the driver's seat. Number two, a resolution. I am still open to finding one, whether that be a fair, agreed upon compensation for my half of the business or the accounts being shut down because someone simply cannot get away with this. Number three, the trust back from the audience we grew. People who maybe thought they knew me and then heard these untruths said about me and maybe changed their mind. I hope you can see that this entire episode has been from the bottom of my heart, that I am as raw right now as I can possibly be, and that I am just pleading for support and for compassion and people to stick with me on this journey that I'm going on. Because every day that I've been coming into the studio and recording and posting these episodes, this is what's been going on in the background of that. So when you see me celebrating my wins and posting about another 10K on TikTok, another 10K on Instagram, that is the only fucking thing that's keeping me going. That and you guys. Every single person that reaches out to me and DMs me and says how much I've been helping them, like, I'm just brainwashing myself, saying it's gonna be worth it, it's gonna be worth it, it's gonna be worth it. Just keep doing what you're doing. And lastly, I just want to move forward. I am all for friendly competition, but only when it's done fairly. Start a new podcast like I did. Don't take from someone else just so you can get ahead. And if none of this happens, I can promise you, I will make more lemonade out of my lemons, like I always do. You now have all of the facts. You have the truth. I am done giving energy to this beyond sharing what I now have. My success will be my revenge. I'm sure there will be another rebuttal after this, but I can promise you I am done using my energy to worry, to stress. I will use my energy to grow and to create. You have my word that I will be open with all of you. I will be vulnerable, truthful, and as raw and real as I possibly can, because that's the kind of podcast you deserve to listen to, the kind of person you deserve to rely on. It's like I said the other day, the universe only gives its toughest battles to its strongest soldiers. And I will fight like one. Who knows? One day, maybe I'll look back at this and laugh because 600,000 followers will be nothing compared to what I'm going to do.
Toughest soldiers. You think this is the hardest lesson? Girl, I've gone through cancer and I don't think that's the hardest lesson. There's a genocide going on. And I'm not saying, like, you can't have your own trauma or, like, anxiety. Like, obviously she's not sleeping because of this. Like, it's a stressful situation. She wouldn't be putting this out if it wasn't stressful. God only gives to his toughest soldiers, and you're the toughest one, Emma. The toughest one of the bunch.
If you have ever been stolen from or erased or betrayed, just know you are not alone. It happens all the time to a lot of good people. My parting words of wisdom: a lion never loses sleep over the opinion of a sheep. Remember that. Even though I haven't been able to sleep in 3 months, whatever, I'm fucking getting there. So, thank you guys so much for humoring me, for listening to me, for giving me the time and space to tell this story. Hopefully this is the fucking end of it. Hopefully there's not some crazy TikTok back and forth. I really feel like I'm above that. This even took a lot out of me to do. I didn't want to. People told me not to. People were like, just let it go, let it go. And I'm like, that is not in my nature to roll over when something wrong is done to me. So I don't know. We'll see what happens after this. Leave your comments below if you have any personal opinions on the matter, or if you have any questions. I am happy to answer any question you have on what went down. I'm happy to provide any proof, any more screenshots, any more emails, any more, like, whatever. I had to put together an entire Google Drive for my lawyer. Everything is labeled, dated. I've got folders on folders, just so organized and very user-friendly. Who knows? Maybe I'll start a Justin Baldoni website and you guys can all just browse. Probably not, because that would be crazy. But thank you guys. I just, like, hope you see the truth in this and that you know that that was all from the bottom of my heart. I'm not trying to tear anyone down. I am trying to rise above. That's all. I'm not even gonna ask for 5 stars on that one. I will see you guys next week. Hi, guys, and
Oops.
welcome back to Too Much.
Okay, I've judged a lot, but I'm not gonna have like a final opinion until I watch that video she's responding to, because I don't know what lies she's saying Chloe said about her. People that are so litigious and like keep telling yourself you're not trying to tear somebody down. Like, you are. If you weren't going to use those, you didn't want to work with her anymore. You didn't want to have anything to do with Unhinged anymore. It just sounds like entitled BS to me. Anyway, I'm almost done this. I just have like, I'll just finish it right now. I only have like 4. How do I'm so bad with computers. Like, what the heck? Okay. I need to figure out my audio, because when I was listening back to just like a few pieces from this morning, I sounded like I had a chipmunk voice, so I don't know. I might not be able to use this streaming plugin or whatever it's called, because I can't figure it out. I'm telling you, I'm a boomer. I'm actually a millennial, but I'm giving off boomer energy to myself. Okay, it's done. I'm not going to weave in the ends yet, because I am going to go to bed. Okay, good night.